Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of The Critics, where I love movies more than Bob Barker loves neutering pets. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about comic book movies. With Black Panther coming out next week, really I thought it'd be nice to sit here and really think about all the comic book movies that have come out over the last 30 plus years. I really am a huge comic book movie fan. I really think all of them are really great overall. There's some really bad missteps, fan four stick, but some other ones, whether or not they were critically acclaimed, I had a lot of fun with most movies. So today I thought it'd be really fun for me to give my top 5 of all time superhero movies. Mind you, this is my personal opinion. No one has to agree. You probably won't. You probably don't. You might. And that's cool too. Either way, this is just my opinion. So here we go. Let me check the text first. At number 5, we have The Avengers. Where to really start off with this movie? There was just so many great things about this movie. The build-up from the original Iron Man up until they finally culminated with the Avengers, it touched me in a way that I never really thought could really happen. Growing up, I was never the biggest of the Avengers fan. I liked them a lot, but I was more DC, more Justice League. But really, there was something about the way that these movies portrayed, and as I got a little older, I felt such a sense of completion by seeing this movie come out the way that it did. From the opening scene to the very end credits, it was just one thing after another, after another, after another of just greatness. It was comical, it was touching, it was emotional. It just had everything in it. You see how certain characters build and grow. You see the start of something else. The only real negative thing I had about it was I'm nitpicky, so I didn't like the fact that they changed Edward Norton for Mark Ruffalo, which I say that under the context of because Edward Norton had it first. I think Mark Ruffalo has done a better job overall, and I think he's a better Hulk or Bruce Banner, but I just don't like it when they change characters because I have an idea in my mind because I want it to be of real life and it's a movie, and I have to tell myself that all the time. What are you going to do? So for number 4, I have to go with probably the only really good X-Men movie, and that's Days of Future Past. I have a lot of really negative feelings about most of the X-Men movies. I thought the first X-Men movie was great. I thought the second one was even better. But then after X2, there was just a lot of issues I had with every single X-Men movie that followed X2 until Days of Future Past. What I really liked about this movie is how they came back, they brought in the old cast, the original cast, along with this new cast that they had made, and they found a way to blend them in, but to make it all make sense. Now, of course, I also think about the fact that since then, the movies that have came out, still not a fan of, but this movie in particular, on its own, just really, it worked everything in together. The only real negative I have with this movie is the same problem that I have with all the prequels that have came out, which is Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. I think she does a fine job. I just hate the fact that they write her as this anti-hero. I've grown up with the X-Men, and Mystique is a villain. She's always a villain. Every once in a while, she might do something to help the X-Men for the sake of, her own sense of accomplishment. But overall, she is purely this selfish person. And everything she does is for her own interest. So to see her as this anti-hero, I don't really care for the Jennifer Lawrence Mystique. That's just me. But overall, this movie is fantastic. Number 3, I have to put, is the movie that completely caught me off guard. Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh my goodness, where do I even begin? begin. Guardians of the Galaxy did something that I think threw everyone off. It was funny. It blindsided us with characters that nobody knew about. I didn't know about them. I consider myself to know quite a bit about superhero type Marvel, DC stuff. And I didn't really know anything about them. I had heard names here and there before, but I didn't know anything about the characters. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was funny. It was exhilarating. It was just great. It was great. You have obviously the one-off villain that Marvel is synonymous for. They just don't care about making really good villains. But other than that, from the moment who tears up the first 3 minutes of a movie? I did. His freaking mom died. That was horrible. It was such a good movie. So amazing. Definitely have to put it in the top 3. At number 2, I gotta do it. Captain America Civil War. Just wow. Just wow. That's all you can say. That airport scene alone puts it at the top of any Marvel movie that has come out. It's just so much greatness. It took everything great about the original Avengers movie and it quadrupled it. It just blew it up right in your face. It was so amazing. The Captain America movies, I have to say, one thing I love about them, it is one of the, if not the only, trilogy, in my personal opinion, that each movie gets progressively better. Most movies, either the original is the best, or the second one, aka The Dark Knight, or Empire Strikes Back, the second one's better. Very seldomly is the third movie the best movie, except for this case. This movie surpasses all of the other ones so phenomenally just because of the grand scale and because of, even though he wasn't really the villain, the greatest villain you feel in here is Iron Man, who's also a hero, which is, it confuses you because you want to root against him, but at the same time you agree with him, and at the same time he's a hero, but he's kind of the antagonist, and it just, I love this movie. It's so good. Again, the one-off villain didn't really make a lot of sense, but everything else on this movie hit so perfectly that it's like you just forgive it. You're just like, whatever. Baron Zemo, whatever. He did a good enough job manipulating them and just let them kind of teeter off on their own. So great. Plus, I just love Paul Rudd. I just do. Also, sidebar, Tom Holland, best Spider-Man we've had on screen. Finally, at number 1, I mean, come on. Is anybody surprised? The Dark Knight. I mean, realistically, what is there really to say that hasn't been said about The Dark Knight? It was as close to a perfect movie as you could really expect a movie to be. I mean, it's Hollywood. It's cinema. There's flaws. There's flaws in every movie. But it's the perfect flawed movie. Just, oh my goodness. The Dark Knight. The Joker. Greatest villain with the greatest portrayal. You know, that movie, so many people that I've talked to, even myself at times, I get emotionally drained. And they feel emotionally drained watching that movie because of how well the Joker was portrayed. It's actually kind of terrifying because it's such a realistic view. You know, thinking back to the 1989 Batman with Michael Keaton, wonderful movie, absolutely wonderful movie. But realistically, that Joker, Jack Nicholson was great, but that Joker was kind of, at times, so out there that it didn't feel real. It felt like a movie, for sure. This movie, the way that Christopher Nolan set it up was so much realism that the Joker, that could be a real guy in a city somewhere, in Chicago, New York. That could be a real psychopathic guy that does that kind of shenanigans. And if he did, I'm going to bunker down right here in this apartment. I'm not going anywhere. That's, no. Such a good movie. Again, it's flawed. It has imperfections, just like every other movie on the face of the planet. I don't care what movie you tell me, I can find a flaw with it because there's flaws in every movie. But that one was great. Anyway, so those are my top five. For anyone that cares, I really want to know what you think though. If those none of those movies are in your top five, let me know what your top five is. You like other things? If you like this, feel free to subscribe. I'll be putting up videos whenever I get a chance. I'm a busy guy. I don't have tons of time. But stick around.